my name's Kim Manning and I am excited to teach you to roller skate. So we're gonna start with stretching. You notice I don't have my skates on. Go ahead and do your stretches without your skates, if at all possible. All right, okay, so let's start. This is kind of like what I do when I'm gonna go to the rink and I really don't have much time to stretch. I think it's really important you stretch both before and after every practice. So this is kind of like my 10 minutes that I do every time I skate. I never don't stretch. So let's learn it. All right, so we're gonna start in just getting your legs kind of wide, and let's just kind of warm up our legs and warm up our hips, side to side. Let's go in circles. We're just gonna kind of warm everything up, okay? Great. Once you've gone in circles a few times, let's go ahead and lean over to the side and stretch out your side body. And then lean over to the other side. Hi, Foxy. And stretch out your side body. And then we're just gonna kind of do this like basic ballet, kind of you come forward like this, and let's just come down onto your leg. And you're gonna go as far as you can go. You might not be able to go as far as me, you know, but what your goal is to not be like this. You don't want your body around it. You wanna have your body like this, belly to the thigh. You wanna think chin to the ankle, not, what do they say, like chin to knee. That's not what we want because that gives us curve. We wanna straighten this out. Okay, let's just go ahead. Actually, let's just walk over and go to the other side. And you notice how I'm stretching and I'm breathing in and out. Let's go ahead and go back to the center and go side to side to side to side. Let's go ahead and bend the knees deeply and bring your body up. Head being the last thing you bring up. Good, let's go ahead and rock the head side to side. Circles. Let's do the other circle. That's good. Let's go ahead and do a little arm. Pushing the shoulders back. You want to keep your shoulders both down and back in this move. Pulsing. Go ahead and pulse down. Now let's pulse up. Good. And let's do this cross arm back thing. Again, breathing in and out. Breath is the most important part of stretching. Okay, great. That was kind of just your basic warm-up. Now let's go into a lunge. I want to go into a passive lunge, so that means that my toe's gonna be pointed in the back. Sometimes to square my hip, I go ahead and I go up on my toe and go into an active lunge and then come down into a passive lunge. You lunge as deep as you can. Obviously, I'm very deep with my lunge. If you can't touch the ground here, which you probably won't, you can have some chairs or some blocks on either side, but we're just gonna sit in this lunge, and this is a really important stretch for skating because what we really tend to get tight is these psoas muscles, these hip flexors, as well as the back of the legs. And chin splints are an issue that we have, so we're gonna kind of do a little bit for that as well. But I'm gonna do a bigger stretch tutorial later. Okay, so now that you've got that, let's straighten that front leg and then reach over and really stretch out the back of the thigh here. And let's just breathe. And I like to flex my foot. And again, you don't wanna think this. This is incorrect. You wanna think this, where your belly goes down. And even if that means as much as you can go as here, that's totally fine. Keep that body straight. And again, you can use your two little yoga blocks like right here. I should have brought yoga blocks. Actually, I only have books at my house, and books work great too. Okay, great. So now let's just go back and forth a little bit from the one to the other. Just a few times. Okay. this is the point in time in which I do the splits. So for the bendy girls, let's just go ahead and do it. Now, if you're like, that's absolutely crazy, Kim, just go ahead and keep stretching this and keep going back and forth. I'd also suggest kind of just trying. You can put 2 blocks on the side to hold yourself up so that you're not all the way in the splits. You can also put a block here underneath your thigh, but just go ahead and do a little stretch. If splits are very comfortable for you, go ahead and go down and come up. Really, again, trying to stretch that psoas. Okay. Here I go into the straddle split, which is a bit much, so lucky you guys were gonna skip that today. And go ahead and just get yourself back up, and we're gonna do the other side. So again, we're gonna get into a lunge. And you see how I'm bouncing here? I know there's schools of thought that say bouncing is bad. I personally, my body prefers it. So I think that you do what works best for you. But we're really trying to stretch out these psoas, these hip flexor muscles. That's our main goal here. So you might need to like push away from the thigh a little. Again, you can have your 2 yoga blocks right here. This might seem impossible for you. I'm sorry if it is. Just do your best. Do as close as you can. Stretching that psoas. It's so important, again, as a skater to stretch that part, this hip flexor. Okay, and straightening that front leg. And again, going as far over as you can, thinking belly to the thigh first. And if you're super flexible, you can go ahead and come all the way down. If this is easy, put your head on the other side. If that's easy, push your head to your ankle, your chin to your ankle. Great. Now let's do these back and forth. And again, if you have your yoga blocks or your chair, you know, or a bench or a couch, you can kind of use that for balance right here. Great. Now, if you're ready, let's go into the splits. You know, this sounds crazy. It's like a beginner class. But this is what I do, so you do your best at it. And again, we're going to go down if we can. Come back up. Okay, and if the splits are like just absolutely impossible for you, again, I suggest you have like a couple of blocks so you can just hold yourself up, or you can just keep going with that back and forth stretch, because basically that is doing the same thing as a split. You're stretching both the hip flexors and the back of the thigh at the same time. Okay, I don't know how much time do I have left for this stretch session. Okay, good. Well, now we're going to work on things that can help with chin splints, which is another problem that skaters have. I don't recommend this for people that are children and their growth plates are still growing, but as long as you're an adult or fully grown, then this is a fine exercise. And I actually got this from Ask Dr. Joe, but my contortion teacher does it as well, but Ask Dr. Joe gives it to us as a way to get rid of chin splints. So what you see I'm doing is I'm sitting on my toes pointed and I'm just rocking back and forth. And then I want to come up to where I feel this stretch right in here. And this is really going to help. My contortion teacher has us do this. But you can also use your hands for support. You can also use your hands in front and kind of push to create a little bit of extra tension there. Good, and then let yourself down. Good. Do it again. Put your hands behind you and reach a little further. Breathing. Great. Now what we want to do is we're going to try to be like a ballerina. And again, you might want to have like a chair or a couch right here to give you support. In fact, maybe Mom, do you mind if I'm going to use this here chair that I have. Yep. Half a minute. Thank you. And So you can use a chair if you need to for support. This one might be too tall, but you want to go up onto your toes like this. You see what I'm doing? And this is going to really stretch out these toes. For those that are flexible like myself, you can actually just do it from the ground. And this is going to really help with our chin splits. Yes, the toes are tucked under. I don't know if you can tell that. It's like I'm tucked underneath. Then I'm going to come back down. Okay, that's it for stretching. Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope that you're on your soft surface. If not, pause and go get back on your soft surface in your skates. All right, now that you're back on your soft surface with your skates, we're going to do the same thing again, but here. So again, first thing you're going to think is hands to knees, cannonball, take a side. One of the reasons that we say hands to the knees is because that actually kind of puts your body forward. Again, the last thing you want to do, and I actually kind of like fake it for you here because it's a soft surface. The last thing you want to do is do this, where you fall back. It's so dangerous because basically you're picking between your spine, your head, and your arm. So we want to try to eliminate that as much as possible. We always want to be able to fall forward. So that's why we're thinking hands to the knee, because you see how that automatically brings my shoulders forward and over my feet. So let's try it again. We're gonna go hands to knees, cannonball, fall to the side. All right, you ready? Nice and easy and slow. All right, hands to the knee, cannonball, fall to the side. Yeah? Not so bad. Let's try it again. And hands to the knee, cannonball, fall to the side. Yay. Okay, let's do one more and then we move to a hard surface. All right, here we go. And hands to the knee, cannonball, fall to the side. Great. And you notice I kind of tend to want to fall this way, but honestly, when I'm skating, I fall any direction. But I do agree with some people that it is maybe best as an adult beginner to just kind of pick one side and really train it into your body. Because that's what you're doing, and that's why I'm having you practice this, because you have to practice this so that it's in your body, so that when you freak out, you don't have to think. Your body just takes over and it goes into this cannonball position of safety. All right? Okay, so go ahead and get on your hard surface, and if possible, find a surface that has some kind of a wall or something that you can hold on to, a table, something very stable that you can hold on to, and we're going to talk about basic skate moves. All right, see you then. Okay, great. Now that you have your skates on and we practice falling on a soft surface, we're going to do just a little bit more of practice falling on a hard surface with our skates on, because that makes it a little scarier. I would recommend actually, if you want to do a hard surface with your feet before you put on your skates, that's totally fine too. If not, let's just go ahead and try this. So again, what's the rules? We think cannonball, hands on the knees, take a hip, catch your head with your hands. When I use my hands, I bend my elbows to absorb the shock. You never want to fall with a straight arm. Also, you never want to fall, like you never want to reach for the ground. Don't do this. Like that's very bad. The hands are a very last thing. Cannonball, pick a hip, use your hands to protect your head. Let's try it one more time. Nice and slow. Cannonball, hands on the knees, pick a hip, use your hands to protect your head. Yes? Okay, now you're gonna hate me. We're gonna do it with a little teeny bit of a roll, and we're gonna do it really nice and slow. So, just a tiny roll, give yourself the little biggest of a roll. Bend your knees, take a hip. Yeah? Notice again how these arms, whenever I protect my head, are actually very bent. That's about that for that, and let's go ahead and move on to the wall, and we're gonna do some actual skating moving exercises. Okay, cool. So, All right, so we're gonna start by talking about skate basics. And that's why I want you to have a wall, because I want you to feel comfortable and safe. A table might be good. At the rink, we use the edge of the rink, so if you got your ballet bar at home. All right, so go ahead, and you wanna put yourself in the proper T-stop position. I'll do tutorials about that later so that you can get more detailed about the T-stop position. But basically, you want to have this front back wheel here. You want it to be in the instep of this foot. So it's going to be in between these two wheels. This is your basic T-stop position. A lot of people try to do some funny, it's none of that. It's back wheel into these two inside wheels. That's your T-stop position. And it forms a stop. So what you want to do is get yourself into your basic T-stop position and go ahead and hold on to your wall for stability. And let's just try bending our knees and raising our knees in this position. Keeping the hips in line with the shoulders in line with the foot, both on the bending and on the coming up. Okay, once you're comfortable doing this a few times, what we want to do is we want to start doing a strike. So when we strike in roller skating, from this T-stop position, you want the foot to go out on this exact same angle that it's creating. So it's coming out like this. So it comes into this T, and then it comes out. You want to keep the hips forward and square, as if you're going on this arc. You want to think of having your weight on the outside of the foot, because outer edges are always easier to begin with. So put your weight on that outer edge. Think of drawing a line from the natural position of your T-stop that your hips allow. That's going to be your proper position. So bending your knees and then drawing the foot out and then bring it back in and then stand. So bend, straighten, bend, stand. Bend, straighten, bend, stand. Again, when you bend and this leg goes out, it goes out at an angle. It does not go out straight back. It goes out at an angle and then back in. I'm trying to guess. I'm gonna say for me, it looks like it's like a 30-degree angle. But for you, it might be more or less, depending on how flexible your hips are. Okay, great. Now that we've done that side, we get to do the other side. So using your wall, carefully turn yourself around, right? And again, let's get in the T-stop position. You notice I just sort of naturally go into that. That's what we want to have for you eventually as well, because it's a lock. I can't really move forward or back because of the way I have my wheels locked into place. All right, so holding onto your wall with your T-stop position, again, now you're going to want to have this back wheel in between these two wheels, right? That's our lock. We want this to be at our natural hips width. We don't want to think oh, it's a T, so it has to look like a right angle. I don't know. Maybe some people's does, but my hips aren't that flexible. So mine's more of like a V, even though it's called the T-stop position. So here you are, hips are forward. You notice if you try to pull that foot out too much, it makes your hips go that way, and that really doesn't help you. You have to keep your hips forward on this direction that you're turning. Again, we're gonna get on the outer edge, so put all your weight on the outside of the foot. So that means the baby toe as well as the outside of the heel. Putting your weight on that foot, bend your knees and straighten. Bend and straighten. Again, keeping the shoulder in line with the hips as you bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. Okay, good. Now let's start the second step. Bend. Bring it out at an angle, bring it in, bend, and then straighten up. Try it again. Bend, out at an angle. Notice how I point that toe out, bend it in, and straighten. Now look how when I do this, my hips don't all of a sudden turn open. Your hips actually just stay in the same place. So maybe you want to put your hands here and actually just try that. Straighten. Bend, up. Bend. Look what happens if I let my hip out. Oh, that's wrong. Hip stays square. Bend, up. Bend, straighten, bend, Okay, good. That looks pretty good. That's what our basic stroking is gonna look like. So when we're actually skating, we're doing this. I don't know, it's a terrible surface for me, but I don't know if you can see that. We're going side to side in those positions that I just taught you. So that's why we want to practice them. We want to practice them at the wall where we have stability. All right, now that we've done that, let's just kind of do a little play around. Go ahead and get yourself, again, in the T-stop position. And now let's switch it up and kind of go ahead and let the feet go parallel and just practice feeling motion in your skates. Practice bending your knees. Do you see how I bend that front knee? And just see what that feels like. Maybe if you feel confident, go ahead and just let go of the wall, right? These are our baby steps of we're just trying to adjust and get used to the skates. Practicing this. Do you see how I bend this front knee? In skating, 9 times out of 10, what we're gonna say to you is bend your knees more. And honestly, when I started training again after decades of training, that was the first thing they said to me, to bend my knees more. And here I'm telling people to do that all the time. So basically, you can never bend your knees too much. We want to practice that concept. Okay, let's switch to the other side carefully. Again, starting in your T-stop position to teach your body it. And then go ahead and break out of it. Put your feet side to side. Just go back and forth, back and forth. Now, while we're doing this as an exercise to get used to skates, it's important to recognize that this is not how you skate. Skating is never back and forth. It's always on a curve, and it's always going to be out to the side with the strokes, like we did in the beginning. Keep doing this. Now go ahead and let go if you can. Try to find balance. Obviously, this could be like a cute little dance routine. It's not skating though, but it is dancing. Keep your focus. Go ahead and hold back onto the wall. Good, all right, I feel pretty good about this. I think you're ready to move out and actually try some skating. So go ahead and find a space away from your wall where you have at least, I don't know, 4 feet or so we can practice some basic bubbles. I hope you're ready. Welcome back. First thing I want to say is find a smooth, flat surface. This is actually not a smooth surface, and I would not at all recommend a beginner to be on something like this. I'm not a beginner, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it because it's pretty, but always look for a really smooth surface. So, now that you've got your nice smooth surface, we're gonna start with basic bubbles. And bubbles are awesome, great way to learn to skate. So to start it, I'm just gonna go ahead and start in a good, proper skating stance. So let's talk about that first. A lot of people when they start skating, what I see them doing is they kind of come in and they do this thing where their shoulders are like really in front of their legs and their feet are like super wide out, and like none of that helps, because if you fall, you have nowhere to go. If your feet are in and you fall, you can always go into that. So you want to start by having your feet literally directly underneath your hips. On the side, you always want your knees bent, and then you want your pelvis just ever so slightly kind of turned up. In skating, we just do this a little bit, which is why we have to stretch out those hip flexors so much. Your shoulders are in line with your feet. It's all a completely straight line. This is your proper skate position, not this. You can even see, I'm sure, in the camera why that's bad, right? Okay, so now that we have our proper skate position, we have our feet under our hips, right? Everyone do it. Feet under your hips, bend your knees, bend your knees. Whenever you're scared, just bend your knees. Like, this is not gonna like save you. This will save you. Bend your knees. All right, wonderful. So now that you're in this position, let's go ahead and we're gonna do bubbles in and out with the feet. We're just gonna start with a forward bubble. Stick your 2 heel feet together so that the back wheels touch, and you wanna use your knees to think. Bend your legs, the knees go out, and then the knees come in and the toes touch, right? And then out, and then in. I didn't mean to make you do backwards first. It's okay though, you can do backwards and forwards if you're ready. If not, just keep doing forward. And I'll move over here so you can see. just do forward. Forward, forward, forward. Yeah? Let's try it again. Notice how my knees, I start with the 2 back heel wheels touching, bending the knees go out, then the knees bring the foot in. The knees go out, the knees bring the foot in. Notice how the whole time I'm keeping my shoulders in line with my hips, in line with my feet. Yeah, so let's just keep doing this. Knees out, knees in. Knees out, knees in. Knees out, knees in. Yeah? Okay, I'm gonna do one kind of coming up in here. Can you see me? Okay, so just so you can see, knees out, knees in. Knees out, knees in. Yeah? That's how you do the bubbles. So let's just keep practicing those. For those of you guys that are like, I got the forward bubble, Kim, this is great. I want you to start doing backward bubble. So let's start with the forward bubble and then add the backward bubble. So forward bubble, and then the opposite. You're gonna knees in, knees out, right? Knees out, knees in, knees in, knees out, right? Knees out, knees in, knees in, knees out. And yes, it is the foot as well. You are going from the heels to the toes, back to the heels. But the momentum, the energy is actually coming from the hips and from the knees. So it's not like, don't think feet, think hips and knees. If you want to think feet, let's talk about that. Inner edge is what we're doing right now. So you want to think to put all your weight on, when we're going forward, the inside heels, and when you're going backwards, all your weight's going to be on the big toes. So you go from the inside heels, and then big toes, and then inside heels, and then big toes. Now, for those of you guys that find that this is like really difficult, make sure you bend your knees even more. Just bend your knees even more. Bend your knees even more. You can never bend your knees too much in roller skating, ever. Okay, great. Now that you've got singles, let's go ahead and try to quadruple and triple it up. Let's try 3. So you're gonna go forward, and then you're gonna go back. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. Yeah? 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. Yeah, keep going. Make sure that when you're doing this, you keep your shoulders in line with the back of your feet. And then you want to keep your knees nice and bent. Knees go out, knees come in. Knees go out, knees come in. Yeah? Once you feel pretty comfortable with them, see if you can like make them bigger. Can I just do one big fatty one? Oop, I hit a rock. Can I make them smaller? Right? Definitely when I go faster like that and smaller, I feel myself using the back of the heel as well to create this motion. But it's still a lot of the knees. A great position for the hands to be is at right here on the side, nice and strong. All right, I feel like that's good. I feel like if you want to continue just practicing with that, that's great. If not, we're ready to move on to the next step. But before I do that, I wanted to point out something. I don't know, those of you that are keen with your eyes might have saw me trip over here. I tripped on this rock. I actually carry a broom in my car. Wherever I go, I have a broom, and I sweep up any area that I skate. I recommend that at the very least, just look around and see if you see any rocks and clear them out before you start skating, because the smallest pebble can make you trip. Okay, so now that you've learned T-stop position and bubbles, we're gonna talk about stops. So if you're doing a full-on practice, right now would be the time that you would go, okay, I'm gonna take 5 to 10 minutes and I'm gonna practice my stops. So you already kind of learned one stop intuitively in the bubble, and that's the plow, right? Because you went like this and your toes come together. This is a stop. So you can practice that stop, which is great. But what happens when we start skating on outer edges, which is what we want to do kind of right away, is this stop changes, and we have to learn what I'm going to call baby plow, and we're also going to talk about baby T-stop. And I have full length tutorials for this, so I'm not going to go that deeply into detail today. I'm just gonna give you enough reference point. If you still don't get it, then you should stop and go watch one of those before moving on. But many of you guys might be advanced and already have stopped, so we're gonna go quickly through this. So we're about to learn pushers. Pushers are basically like a one-legged bubble that go on an outer edge. So that means the outside edge of the skate. So there's 8 edges. There's 8 edges to the skating. There's your outer edge and your inner edge, right? On both feet. So this is 4 going forward. Here's outer edge, and here's my inner edge, right? And then those same 4 edges going backwards, right? Here's an outer edge, here's an inner edge. And this is an outer edge, and that's an inner edge. Does that make sense? When we skate, when we're learning to skate, first thing we want to do is try to get on these outer edges, because it utilizes these big fat muscles right here, and that's where you have the most strength and control. So when you're doing a bubble, you're actually in 2 inner edges, and you're working like this. So we want to get ourselves onto an outer edge by doing a pusher. So it's like a one-legged bubble, except for you're going to put yourself in that T-stop position to start, right? You're going to put yourself on this outer edge, meaning the baby toe and the outside edge of the heel, of the back of the heel. That's where your energy is. Primarily, your weight's in that back heel, and then that baby toe is your steerer. Okay, so you're in your T-stop position, you bend, and you're going to do this like one-legged bubble. We'll go over it later. It's like a pusher, right? And then in order to stop, you just slow down and you go into a spiral until it kind of almost stops. And from here, you have 2 choices. You can do a plow like that, or you can go into your T-stop position like that. So it's either baby plow or baby T-stop. I'm going to show you that with a little motion. I'll get out of the, here I come, I'm skating, I spiral in, and then I come into a plow. Now, the way that I'm accomplishing that is by really bending into this leg and putting more pressure and more energy into that back outside heel, so that it's creating a spiral around that heel. This is the easiest way to stop. The way I'm explaining it, it's actually quite complicated. It's more just like you go with the energy. So I'll do the other way. So you're skating around and it's time to stop. So you just circle in, and then come into your T-stop and or plow stop position. Does that make sense? So it's just kind of naturally allowing the energy to slow itself. Everything in skating is a circle. Everything's done. You're going to learn everything's on an arc. Everything's on a spiral. So when you want to slow yourself down, you cut the edge. And what that is you're skating in this big circle. You cut the edge and create a spiral. That spiral always comes to a center point, right? That center point is going to be when your motion stops. And you can't you learn to control motion as a skater, but you can't fight motion. You have to go with motion and control it. On that note, so I'm going to do this stop again, and we're going to talk about this front leg. So all my weight's on this front leg, and then the leg is bent. But there's this moment right here where what happens is your energy is going forward. All your weight is right here on this leg. Your hip, your shoulders, your ankles are all lined up with this leg. I'm going to move back, make sure you can see me. What happens when you go to stop is your energy is going this way, right? So you would have this tendency to want to fall forward. So yes, your weight's on this leg, but you're also pushing off, as if you were going to do a push off to you know, get moving or something, because your energy is going this way with the motion. So you have your weight on this leg, but you're pushing against the energy. You're going to kind of go back a little, obviously not enough to where you lose control. You have your nice foot back here to control that, and then you find the center point, and that's how you stop. Okay, good. I feel good about this. Those of you, I should have said this in the beginning, those of you that are just doing this sort of to have a real-time practice along, you could just be practicing your stops throughout all of this. So like, let's say you already know your baby T and your baby plow, and you're actually working on a real, like, drag the toe stop. You know, you could just be like over here, just working on your little drag the T toe stop. And I'm noticing, even on this nice smooth surface, there is this place where I bend the leg. Da-da-da. So I'm making sure that I'm doing both sides here, and I'm staying on my outer edges. And this is how I practice stop. I would just be like practicing my stop. Now, if you're not there and you're just doing the baby, then, or maybe you're just practicing your plow, but you really don't stay there too long, you know, you just over and over. If you can't do backward bubble, that's fine, just turn around. And you're just over and over. This was literally me at the ice rink for 45 minutes every time I went to practice. Oh, and a note, don't look down. Always look up. Don't look at your feet. So when you're skating, you want to look straight ahead, parallel, right? And you have to bend your knee. Do you see how that one, I had so much energy going forward, right? I had to like bend my knees even more and sit back against it. Now let's do like a baby plow, right? So you would just do a pusher. You'd spiral till it stops, and then go to your T. I meant to say baby. Baby plow. I'll do baby plow this time. Spiral till it stops, and then go to a plow, right? Both of those create a lock. T-stop is a foundation in my mind. So that's why I recommend you right away go into that. And then baby into T-stop. Because what's happening is you're building this inner groin muscle that's going to give you strength and stability later to both do proper T-stops, but also when you're striking off, it's all the same inner groin muscle. So that's why it's important to just do these stop practices at no speed. You can see I went inside for this to show you that you can do this inside your kitchen. You can practice stops on a rainy day, on a snowy day, and there's like so many stops you're gonna learn in the program. So there's like a year worth of practice indoors right there for you. Okay, so now we're gonna go to a wide open space, and here we're gonna start learning our pushers. And again, if you're doing this as a real-time practice, you're gonna, like, you know, maybe you're beyond pushers and you're doing push holds, or you're all the way to strikes. You know, wherever you're at, you're gonna join us and do that in the next, but I'm gonna kind of explain to the beginners what a pusher is. All right, guys, make sure to check out the full-length tutorials for the full description of these. See you on the smooth surface. All right. Got yourself on a nice flat, smooth, even surface. You've checked it for any pebbles. You pulled out the broom if you needed to. You've relocated where all the little cracks are, so you're not going to go over them. We're going to start with pushers. All right, so the way to do pushers is to start into that same T-stop position that we talked about earlier. You're going to bend your knees, and you're going to bring one foot out like you did with a bubble, and then you're going to bring it back in. You want to have your arms strong. You want to keep your shoulders over your hips, and you're going to push her like this. You want to keep all of your weight on this leg, on the outer edge. You can actually see, this is great, actually you can tell with my wheels how these two wheels are glowing and the other two are not. That's because I'm putting all of my weight on those wheels. Push, 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 push. These are our pushers. We want to keep all of our weight on this front leg. You could literally lift this leg up. This is the next step. This leg that's your outer leg is going out with the knee and then in with the knee. Out with the knee and in with the knee. When it goes out, it comes back in, and actually it's going to kind of come in to this position, like as if it's coming into that other mid-step or instep of that other skate. Out and in. And I'm literally just practicing this here with you real time so that you can have the opportunity to practice it. Out and in, staying on the same circle. Now notice I'm not doing this. I'm not going up, down, or anything. I'm keeping my hips square. They're staying on the same circle. My arms are staying on the same circle. I'm gonna have this arm in front of me. It's looking the direction that I'm going. I'm looking over this shoulder. I'm going out, in, okay? Let's go ahead and stop. Let us do the other side. So again, getting in the T-stop, you wanna have now the other leg in front. This leg's coming into that instep. The wheels are interlocked into each other. Strong arm. You're gonna look over this arm because that's the way you're going. You wanna have your hips square to that circle. You're gonna do a bubble with this outer leg. Out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in. Now, on this particular skate, I have, this back wheel is not a glowing wheel. But if it was, you could tell again that those outside wheels are where I have all my pressure. All of my weight is in this leg and this knee is bent. Out, in, out, in. Again, I'm using that same thing I did with the bubbles, where I'm pushing out with my knee and then in with my knee. Out with my knee and then in with my knee. Out with my knee and in with the knee. Notice how my hips don't move at all. See how they stay exactly the same. Pushing out, in, 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 out, in. Doing good. Don't be going up and down. Stay down. Keep this knee bent. Pushing with this other leg. When you push out with this back foot, you're going to feel that weight on that inside back heel. That's what's creating the force. And then you're going to bring that toe into the instep. Out, in, out, in. All right, let's do that same fancy stop again. Bending this front knee greatly. Letting it kind of bring it around and then into a plow, which is basically the front half of the bubble. Okay, now you're skating. And you're like, Kim, but that doesn't feel like skating. I'm just going in a circle. But let me show you. Those that are ready, if you feel ready, let's try to put the two together. So you get in the 1 T-stop, your strongest side first. Get your arms set up. Go out, in, and then switch. Out, in. Out, in. Out, in. You see how that's skating? The basics of skating is a back and forth circle. Watch me skate towards you. T-stop position. Skating this circle, that circle. This circle, and I'm off camera. My camera person didn't get me. So you have to go side to side when you're skating. So that's why everything you're gonna be learning, unless it's like specific tricks that are not on a circle, everything's gonna be on an arc. And I need you to start thinking that way. And a lot of what we did today was setting up foundations of the proper way to think about skating. All right, so now that we've done a little bit of exercise, we're gonna do just like a baby cool down experience. Again, I really am not a fan of stretching with your skates on, but for just today, we're gonna do like an easy one that you can do with your skates on. And so let's go ahead and practice your good cannonball, and then practice falling to your hip, and then let's go to a nice sitting position. So you're sitting like this and your legs are out in front of you. If this is like super difficult for you, you can grab a belt and put it there, or you can just grab your pants, or I mean you could even just grab your shoelaces, really, your skate laces. And we're gonna go ahead and, this is a Kundalini move. If possible, grab your toe stops and you're just gonna go down and up like this. And breathing. And I breathe in, and then I breathe out. Now let's go down as far as you can. Just stretch it out a little bit. And just surrender. So much of skating is about just surrendering and just rolling with it. You really do just have to learn to roll with it. Much like I had to learn to roll with the sun fading on us today. Great. Now let's go ahead and spread your legs out just to like a comfortable V. You don't need to make it like uncomfortable. And let's just kind of go from one side to the other. And again, just go at your own flexibility. I like to reach over for my bow and arrow. You can do whatever works. Bendy people, try to get your shoulder to touch the ground. Non-bendy people, just do whatever you can. Because we're doing stretching. Let's go ahead and go front a little bit. Come up, go front, come up, go front, come up. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Let's go ahead and lay down and just rest. You can stay here, but if you're super duper bendy, you can kind of open it up a little more. And we're just resting, breathing and resting. Great, let's do one more stretch. So go ahead and bring your foot in to your other foot and actually bring it up on top. We call this baby flamingo. And then reach and stretch. So I guess I could say from the beginning, when I said I don't believe in stretching in your skates, that's if you have to balance on your skates. We're not required to use any muscles to balance. So it's okay to use in your skates. Let's go ahead and switch, put the other one on top. And reaching for your toe. Again, you might just be able to grab your pants. You might be just lucky to grab the other skate. Whatever works for you, wherever you're at. If you don't feel it, if you're like a really bendy person and you're like, I don't feel this, then you're not doing it right. Because your job as a really bendy person is to make sure that you always are stretching. This feels pretty good. Okay, and then honestly, as long as your surface allows, just go ahead and lay on your back. And just surrender to it a little bit. I think my whole life I've spent falling and just laying on the floor if I can. When I'm frustrated and I can't get that trick, you know, at least when you've fallen and you're on the ground, you're safe. So just practice surrendering to it and practice saying, I love the ground and the ground is safe. Once I make it to the ground, I'm safe. And just breathing in and out. Breathing in all your little victories today and breathing out all your expectations. A lot of people, they want to have, they come up to us and they're like, teach me a trick. And that person can't even hold an edge yet. So you got to take things slow in skating. Progressive steps. Slowly building those micro muscles. This is good. All right, let's go ahead and roll your ankles and roll your hands. We're getting kundalini here. Go ahead and rub your hands together and move your feet like this to kind of wake yourself back up. Good. And then you can just go ahead and roll into the side, back to our lovely fall position, and then get back up. And maybe since we're here, we'll just talk real quick how to get up in roller skates. I'll go over this more in length. But the best thing to do when you're just beginning is to get yourself on one leg, the other leg bent underneath you. Put all your weight, put your toe stop down into the ground on this foot. Put all your weight on this leg. Use your hands and push yourself up, bringing yourself back to that other toe stop. Okay, well that's your very first micro lesson in roller skating. I recommend literally you just do this routine with me like over and over again until you've mastered these pushers, and then you can move on to the next level. All right, thanks so much.